Hello, welcome to Leadership as a Philosophy, Not a Checklist, Chapter 7, Revisited the Solution. This is probably going to go over 5 minutes because it's the capstone for the entire thing. So, the solution to the leadership problem, or a proposed solution, is that you have to identify and then develop and employ actual leaders in your organization. So, identification, 2 different methods, external and or known quantity and unknown quantity. So, unknown quantity is if you've got somebody who is showing up with their cool shiny degree and no experience, nothing about them, well, then you got to find out. So you give them this whole questionnaire here, which is the reliability. It's basically proposed questions to see if somebody's got leadership ability or been in charge of stuff before. Most of these things are performative, so you can't just fake it with some checklist resume. Next thing is the Big 5 personality test. And you're looking for personality traits that lead to leadership or make it easier for people to be leaders, which is openness to experience and intellect. So that's open to new ideas and able to synthesize them quickly. Assertiveness, low negative emotion, because you have to have positive emotion to be able to go out and do stuff. And then a moderate agreeableness, because you have to be disagreeable. If you're super agreeable all the time, you're not going to make a great leader. The reason I say the Big 5 instead of Myers-Briggs is because the Big 5 is more accurate and it does a better job describing what your talents are going to be like at work, because Myers-Briggs is a little bit too vague. But it was a much older test, so I get it. For the known quantities, you have observation, which is vigilance, right? So you got not the best producer, but coaches and improves the team to be better, takes responsibility even though not in charge, volunteers for stuff all the time, does recommend, has lots of recommendations and good ideas, but then does stuff anyway. Somebody who the team will voluntarily follow. So you go down and do a survey. Hey, we're keeping an eye on this person. What do you think? Would they be good to be in charge of, to move up and have some more leadership ability? Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Those are all huge indicators. That's if you've got a known quantity, okay? The problem is that all this stuff has to be go, no go, not pass, fail, right? So you don't fail if you don't have leadership ability. You just don't get to be in charge, all right? So I'm going to build this real quick. So now we'll do ideas on the utilization of leaders. So you identify the leaders, external, known quantity, unknown quantity. Put them in your development program. So history and moral philosophy. We're going to talk about philosophy. We're not talking about numbers and systems and processes. They need to do a bunch of reading, have to get up and talk about stuff, maybe some discussions. They have to participate. Worst and best case scenarios in the company or even other companies or other organizations, military, civilian, where things have gone bad and well and what should have been done and what could have been done. Character evaluation. Do they have humility? Do they have integrity? Do they have empathy? Do they pay attention? And then it's pass, no pass. You get done with the court, you get done with the training, and you say, well, this person gets it or doesn't get it. And if they don't get it, it's okay. It's all right. Right? It may be something they really want to do, but they might not be suited for it. It's like me. There's a bunch of stuff I want to do I have no talent for. All right. So how do you evaluate these people? We're going to skip over here on the slide. So they should be evaluated on all of the human aspects of the organization. Environmental assessment, employee assessment, evaluation of the leaders by other leaders and by the team. You see all the time 360-degree assessments. I've been through a few of them, and they're all garbage because they're not really done. The people in charge really have no integrity. Accuracy in reporting, right? Does this person lie or not? And then no up or out. You might find somebody who really likes being in charge of 50 or 60 people, and that's just the sweet spot for them. Well, leave them there, right? Move them around to different organizations so they don't get stale, but they say, I don't want the hassle. Okay, leave them in there. Maybe give them some pay raises, but certainly don't do up or out, because you've got somebody that's got the leadership ability, you're going to get rid of them. And then you keep it continuous development. So you still do philosophy, wisdom, all this stuff. Perhaps you bring them out after their 10 years a leader to go teach the history and moral philosophy thing, right? So you've got actual leaders actually evaluating and developing other leaders instead of just management people with certificates. I told you it's going to be over 5 minutes. So placement and compensation, right? There should always be a trial and some sort of observation. Chief of staff, right? If you're in an organization got the chief of staff, or there's a bunch of staff type people, there should be a leader that's keeping an eye on them. Because then the leaders have somebody to talk to at each level. Because the second you have a bunch of managers that don't have any impetus to change, they're not going to grow or develop the organization. Define the work requirements for the position. If it's going to be in charge of people, you need a leader to do it. If it's going to be in charge of systems and processes, go find a management type. You need them both, right? If there's an organizational level that has lots of managers, there needs to be a leader there. Because then there's this chain. Somebody who can go talk to the other person and has the humility to listen to the complaints. But, you get in some entrenched bureaucracy, nothing's going to change. I say no more than 3 years. This is just an idea, but 3 years enroll, go in there and make whatever they want to do, make sure the team's developed, and then run the system, run the program for a while. But then they need a break, because if you're genuinely a leader, you get worn out. And then you get 2 or 3 months just sabbatical, disappear. You're getting paid, but you're gone. Then they come back after the 3 months, and then they have to sit down and write, or maybe go work at the leadership school, maybe have something to write. Here's some books to read to prepare you for your next job, and then put them back in that job. So then you constantly are sharing all of that information that you got when you were a leader, things that you learned and didn't learn. And then pay should be equal to, there should be a pay scale where it's not one person making $1 bazillion. If you're the best at your competence hierarchy, you should be getting paid a good amount of money. So the best technician should be getting paid almost the same as the leader, because the leader's just the best at leadership. Maybe you bonus structure a little bit differently, but that's when that's how you'll get rid of all the people that want to be the boss, because the boss makes the most money. You say, nope, you're really good at math. Here's the person that gets the best at math. They get the most money. Too much. Okay, and then I have the leadership meeting. And a leadership meeting should really be, we're going to talk about leadership, not talk about systems and processes. So it should be everybody in the organization, as best makes sense. Talk about the problems they had, some good things they had, and it starts at the lowest level, and then each person briefs all the way up. And then what that ends up doing is identifying problems for the leaders. So everybody gets to share and hear everybody else's stuff. So let's say you got 15 leaders talking about 3 things they did well and 3 things they did bad. Well, that's 15 mistakes that the group doesn't have to make, and 15 things the group gets to learn. But it doesn't work if you have somebody in charge that's quashing all that. All right, places this has worked. So up until the late 70s, the U.S. Army used to have it in the enlisted ranks. You were in for 2 years or 3 years, and then it came time for you to make E4, which is, lower grade. And then if you were a leader type, you got picked to be a corporal. And then you were a non-commissioned officer, and the rest of your time in the Army, you had mostly leadership roles. But you had been identified as a leader by then. And then if you were a really good technician, you were a specialist, and you still got promoted as a specialist. But the pay was the same. It just happened to be that the person that was the hard stripe NCO, they called it, got all that stuff. The Navy it's a little bit the opposite, but they have the limited duty officers. So you get somebody that's really good at a technical skill. They sort of just do that technical skill. Well, it's the same thing for leadership. There should be a leadership branch. That's another story. The Taj Palace, I did the video on that. They've got a 2.5-year program where they work with the hotel, get developed, work with the hotel, get developed, and then maybe make it. There's 7 different steps before they get kicked out. In-N-Out Burger only selects managers from within their, or leaders from within their organization. You got to go there and do the work. And then you go to In-N-Out School. For those of you that have been eating at In-N-Out Burger, I've been eating there for 3 decades. It's the same experience for 30 years. Doesn't matter where. It's the same experience. What does that tell you? That's unbelievable leadership. It's got one of the lowest turnover rates of any company in America. Why is that? Great leadership, right? Sorry, that was 9 minutes. There's going to be lots of linked videos to go through that sort of stuff. But this radically has to change, because the way we're doing it now doesn't work. The way that we're doing it now, where it's, I need 16 certificates and 4 things, and you got to be expert at this system to be in charge of people. It's not working. This is what has to happen. Tons of work, though. Tons of work. Sorry that went long. Thank you so much for your time. And this has been a great experience. So I appreciate it much. And everything after this is going to be regular scheduled programming. Bye.